Before we get started, for the sake of your safety and the safety of others around you, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to plead with you to brace yourselves. Please prepare yourselves and your environment. Make sure you are seated somewhere soft or reclining or even just laying flat on the ground so that if what I'm about to show you shocks you into being lightheaded or dizzy or even just full on fainting and passing out, you don't fall and hit your head on a bathroom sink or on the corner of a glass coffee table or something awful like that. Why do you even have a glass coffee table? They're an accident waiting to happen. So anyways, have you secured yourself? Have you secured your safety? I'll give you a moment. Pause the video if you need to. Put some foam on the edges of that glass coffee table. Are you ready? Are you ready for the surprise, even though it was spoiled by the title and the thumbnail? Just humor me here, right? Okay. Surprise! I finally finished it. I finally finished my Squire Classic Vibe Jaguar Glow Up that I've been working on for ages. It feels like eons have gone by since I started this project. I can say that since I started this, I am in a very different place in life. So anyways, this project started when Sean from Gunstreet Wiring Shop hit me up asking if I'd like to explore the surfy possibilities of his Burnside pickups, which, believe it or not, are not humbuckers. They are humbucker sized. They're all nice and chromy in there, but they're not humbuckers. They are Valco or Supro style single coils. I picked this guitar because Sean requested that I explore the surfy possibilities of these pickups, which, you know, he didn't even have to ask. I was gonna do it anyways. I was like, I want this to be a surfy theme. I want it in a surfy guitar. And I was looking around all my guitars that have holes big enough for humbuckers in them. I was like, no, that's not quite right. I want to lock this in and have it be truly, authentically a surfy situation. So it just made sense to grab the Classic Vibe Jaguar. I knew that I was going to be wrestling with pickguards. I didn't realize how much I was going to be wrestling with pickguards. I ordered a pickguard off of Amazon that was a Jaguar pickguard, obviously, with humbucker-sized holes in it, and it didn't fit. It wasn't compatible because Fender makes all their different models of Jaguar a little bit different. So there's like 5 or 6 different versions of Jaguar pickguards out there, and they all fit a little bit different. So that's when I realized I'm going to have to cut a pickguard for this thing. So I went on this whole journey. I made myself a fresh routing table out of a milk crate. I did a bunch of experimenting. I cut a bunch of templates. I got better at it, and I cut this pickguard, which is pretty great. But, you know, it would look very classy. It would look very classic on this guitar. And who knows, maybe it'll end up on there eventually. But I wanted a splash of color. I love colorful guitars. And I had this sheet of fluorescent acrylic sitting around for some other project that I planned years ago that I never got around to. And I decided this was the time. And I was right! I was right this time, guys. I did a good thing and it turned out good and I'm really happy with it. And I'm probably going to do a lot more of it. I've been wanting to make fluorescent acrylic pickguards forever, and I've proved to myself that I can do it and do it kind of well. I'm kind of impressed with myself right now. Just gonna put that out there. Yeah, it's not perfect. There are some things I need to adjust on my template. First of all, I had to file away at the edge of the control plate hole a little bit. So I'm gonna have to open up my template a little bit there. It just wouldn't fit, so I had to do some filing, and if you're up close to it, you can see that it's not that round kind of cut, but it looks pretty good. I also had to square off the pickup holes because those were too rounded. They probably would have taken an open coil humbucker, but these covered style humbuckers, they need squared off holes. So I had to tweak that. Also, the rest of this was all perfect. It all lined up perfectly. Even the screw holes lined up perfectly with the previous screw holes. I'm very proud of myself as far as that goes. For some reason, this edge was different. I don't know what I did different here. Maybe I need to do a cut inwards. That's what I should have done. I should have done a reverse angle. Like I have the 45-degree angle here on the edge. I should have done a reverse one on the other side of this to allow this to tuck in. I had to dowel with toothpicks and re-drill for the top control plate here. But all in all, I feel like I did a pretty good job. My biggest mistake though is that I kind of eyeballed the placement of the humbucker routes, and they're just a little bit off. I'm a little bit worried because they all kind of skew a little bit too high past the low E here. I'm a little bit worried that I'm not getting the magnetic coverage that I need on the high E. So I might need to like cut this one open a little bit to slide that pickup down. I might have to do some sort of pickup ring situation or just cut a whole other pick guard. That sort of experimentation is my near future. But all in all, I'm really stoked with how that turned out. I'm jazzed. Even though it's not a jazz master, I'm jazzed with how that pick guard turned out. Oh, also, I want to mention, when I first put it on here, I wasn't stoked with how transparent it was. It was like crystal clear, like a sheet of glass you could see through and see all the wires and all the little burrs in the wood and stuff like that, and any little specks underneath the pick guard. And I was like, I'm not loving the clear look. So all I did is I put this down on my workbench and I attacked it with a piece of sandpaper and I roughed up the back, and it's got a nice kind of misty, translucent, soft look now. And I think that's the way. It looks really cool. I'm very happy with the results. Also, I mean, if you've been watching the channel, you've seen that I took this thing on a whole adventure experimenting with dyeing polyurethane. I've had this idea in my head forever, and since I had this apart, I was like, might as well do it. Might as well have some fun. Let's experiment and see what kind of trouble we can get into. And we got into all sorts of trouble. I had found this fabric dye that's made to stain polyester. You know, like the shirt in your grandpa's closet. I was like, well, if it'll stain polyester, maybe it'll stain polyurethane. And I wasn't wrong. Across multiple videos of experimentation and tomfoolery, I found a recipe that worked. If you sand the guitar, with your help, by the way, a lot of you made suggestions and I followed a lot of the suggestions to find the recipe that worked. If you sand the guitar first and then mix the dye in a solvent, I was using acetone, the color sticks. The color works its way into the finish to the point where you can't wipe it off. Even with acetone or rubbing alcohol or sweat, you have to sand it off. The results were mixed. It worked. It technically stained the guitar. It technically colored the guitar. But I wasn't happy with the results, and I wasn't happy with my artwork and things like that. So in the last video, I sanded it down to its final form. So here we are. It is a soft light blue matte finish now with little bits of paint missing where I sanded through, and you can see the white or clear sanding coat underneath. I think it's a classy look. It's a bit like a rat rod sort of look, and then paired with this pink pick guard, it's got this kind of like Malibu Barbie sort of thing going on, which I think is a very fun, and you know, I think it goes with the surfy theme. So now with all of that out of the way, the story's been told, I can finally plug it in and show it to you. Tony!
What? Ryan.
Tell everyone about my signal path.
Ryan is running into the motherboard into the 2 Princeton's rig.
Thanks, Tony.
You are welcome.
Everyone thank Tony down in the comments section for me. So anyways, let's get started. We'll start with a great big chord in the middle position, both pickups on. Bridge pickup by itself. Next pickup by itself. They're very interesting pickups. Here we are in the middle again. Bridge. Neck. They're not like any other pickup. Their construction is completely different, but their sound is different too. They don't have that hollow twang of a Fender style pickup. All the different Fender style pickups, Strat, Tele, Mustang, Jaguar, Jazzmaster, etc., etc., all the different styles. They're all Fendery in sound. They have that hollow kind of mid-scoop jangle and twang to them. They're not like a P90. They don't have that hot, like pushed, grindy mid sort of thing going on. They're not like a bright and jangly Dan Electro pickup. They're their own thing. I would describe them as warm and full, a little bit barky, a little bit woolly. They're also very quiet. There is humbucking happening when you have both on, but the initial hum is very, very slight. Like, I've really got to be sitting there listening to it to hear it. They have, when they're on their own, they have like a focused low mid quality to them, but without that kind of like high output growl and the push kind of highs that you get with P90s sometimes. I'm trying to think of what to compare them to, and I don't know if I can. They kind of just sound like themselves. They're their own thing. They're kind of different. So anyways, let's just keep playing around with them, and you can tell me in the comment section what you think they sound like. You might just be like, Ryan, those sound like P90s. Get over yourself. But I don't think they do. They sound different to me. I don't usually like P90s. These feel different to me. They sound different to me. They feel softer and warmer, jazzier in a way. If you can be jazzier than a P90, you can. You absolutely can. So anyways, let's just play around, find some sounds, turn on some pedals, things like that. They do the link for anything nicely. That was the bridge. Here's the middle. The middle position is probably going to be the Surfy setting. It's a bit more hollow the way they combine. You get that quack, I guess you would call it, that you would normally get in between like two Strat pickups or something like that. It just gets a little bit more hollow. It gets a bit more hi-fi. You hear a wider range of tones. It's not so focused on those low mids. And here is the neck pickup by itself. Let's do this. This is the ultimate test of any pickup, right? Middle. And bridge. Let's do the thing that we came here to do. Let's explore the Surfy possibilities of these pickups. I've turned on my Surfy Bear reverb. We'll start off on my lower reverb setting, and then we'll go for the full-blown ridiculous mix. By the way, I'm using the Surfy Bear Compact Deluxe. All right, we are on the bridge pickup right now. Might as well gliss, right? That was bridge. Here is middle. And here is neck. That neck is so warm and smooth sounding. I'm hearing a really nice separation in between those tight low mids and this kind of very like glassy high end. They have a unique quality. I appreciate these pickups. I'm glad that I have a set of them now. Let's try them through the rhythm circuit. Gotta pick something to play, don't I? Smooth. Rhythm circuit off. Middle position. And bridge. I'm going to engage the Strangle switch, even though it's not going to be terribly effective right now. People go bonkers when there's a Jaguar release that doesn't have the Strangle switch, but I think it's kind of silly because modern pedal boards and modern signal paths kind of make that switch ineffective. Like there's a slight difference right now, but there's buffers in all the pedals that I'm running through that kind of just cancel out most of what it does. And I'll demonstrate that in a moment here. But here it is, Strangle switch. Well, here it is without. Here it is with. Really not a big difference. Here it is without. It pulls out some of the lows. Which is very drastically and dramatically different from what it does if you use it with a more vintage traditional style signal path where you're running almost directly into the front of the amp. I'm going to pull out of the motherboard right now and I'm going to plug into a fuzz pedal that's right before my splitters going into the amps. And then you'll hear how dramatically different it is when you're not running a bunch of, you know, pedals with buffers and stuff like that. Part of the reason I'm showing this is because Sean from Gunstreet wanted to know what these pickups sound like through a Strangle switch on a Jaguar. So here it is without. No reverb, as you can tell. Here it is with. Totally different sort of thing than when you're running through pedals. Super duper quiet too. Now let's do it with a fuzz on. I'm using the 1-ton Bees from Mojo Hand and from Bees Music Shop. So that is Strangle off. Here is Strangle on. But now you can hear what these pickups sound like with the Strangle on in a more vintage sort of situation. That's the bridge. Here's the middle. And here is the neck. All right, let's put it back to normal. Well, modern normal. Let's switch to the super duper drippy mix on that Surfy Bear. Starting off on the bridge. Here we go. Here's the real surf test. Middle position. And neck. Middle. And bridge. Strangle on the bridge. And rhythm circuit, because why not? Middle. Here is bridge. Here is neck. That reverb mix is a bit much, isn't it? Middle position. And the bridge. Throw a little dirt at it. Turn on the left side of my 50/50 with the gain at noon. Right where I like it. Yeah! That's what I like. I think these are a great pickup for a link ray sort of sound. Surfy, but not traditionally jazz mastery sort of surfy. They've got a different personality. They push drives a little bit different. They've got this low end kind of punch that just pushes. But they still have the clarity and the bite that you need without being like over the top, like kind of Fender ice picky. We'll let the reverb supply the ice picks, right? We don't need it from the pickups. Back to clean. But to answer the question, do these pickups surf? Obviously, you can surf with any guitar, with any pickups. But kind of being traditionally minded, using my ears in a traditional sort of sense, I'm gonna say yes. I think these pickups have the sauce. They are not the same as a Fender style pickup. You're not going to get exactly the same sound as you would out of a Jazzmaster or a stock Jaguar. But there's something about the quality of these pickups, the sound of them, that I think fits very well into a traditional surf sort of sound. We'll take the trim off. I'll sign off on them. They're different, but they're the right kind of different, and I think they sit in the right neighborhood to be a really nice kind of traditional or non-traditional surfy style pickup. But let's move on to some other sounds. Let's try them with some drive. Here's just the clean signal. There's the bridge. There's the middle. Here's the neck. Back to the bridge. Here's some drive from that 50-50. Middle position. I think their warmth and their soulfulness plays with dirt really well. And the neck position. That was the neck. Here's the middle. And here is the bridge. Middle. Neck. Strangle. Middle. Bridge. Rhythm circuit. We need some reverb. Okay, fuzz test. I already played with the fuzz earlier to show off the Strangle switch, but I've got a muff style fuzz on the board here from Keeley, the Octosi. Let's see how it handles a muff. We'll start in the bridge. Oh. There we go. And then the neck pickup. Middle with the Strangle switch on. Even with all that modern circuitry, there's still a difference with the Strangle switch. Getting quite a buzz. No, because that's a buzz. It's like a low hum from that fuzz. looking pickups. I'm very happy with them. I really like them with the fuzz. And, you know, with the facelift, the glow up that I've given this thing. I feel like it does want to live in the 90s. It wants to do 90s stuff. It wants to be alternative and grungy and power poppy, and it likes the fuzz. This is a fun thing to have. The problem is that I've got a lot of Jaguars right now. But I've changed it enough, right? It's become something else. It's become something new. It's become something different. I can justify keeping it. Just because I have a lot of Jaguars doesn't mean I can't have a lot of Jaguars. I worked hard on this one. So yeah, for the future of this guitar, I think I'm going to keep experimenting with my pickguard making techniques. I want to tweak this pickup to be a little bit further down, just so I can be sure that the magnet is catching that high E properly. It sounds great, it sounds fine, but it's stuck in my head like, oh, this might be a problem. It's probably not a problem. It sounded good, it feels good, but my OCD is triggered by it just a little bit. The neck pickup looks fine. How did I get the bridge pickup just off enough to bug me? Also, I want to keep experimenting with this acrylic style pickguard. I've always been afraid to go down that road because I know that this material cracks so much easier than a traditional pickguard. But I just took my time with the power tools. I went nice and slow with the drills. I went easy on it as I was screwing everything in, and I didn't have a problem. Maybe it benefits from the fact that this pickguard on a Jaguar, it doesn't have the pots or the switches mounted to it directly. Only the pickups are mounted to it. And if this was a traditional Jaguar layout, then nothing would be mounted to the pickguard. No pickups would be mounted to it at all. So maybe under those situations, a plexi acrylic style pickguard isn't going to have the cracking issues. I get, you know, if I really cranked down the pickguard screws, I know it would crack like really easily. But I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I think it looks really cool. This matte finish does pick up grease off your hands really, really easy. So I keep having to wipe it down. So I'm not sure I totally recommend sanding down your bodies unless you want to go for that rat rod kind of like worn in, distressed jeans sort of look. It's got a bit of an acid wash thing going on up close. So anyways, not acid wash, but you know, just like a really well-worn, faded pair of Lees. That's the color going on here. Also, I've got a lot of chrome to keep polished on this guitar. I was sitting here before filming just like, oh my gosh. It's like I'm polishing grandma's silver. It just gets gritty so fast. But I love it. It's beautiful. What do you guys think about it? What do you think of the pickups? What do you think about my cosmetic mods here? Do you want to see more? Then stay tuned. Please like, subscribe, dislike, leave me a rude Nazi comment, support us on Patreon, buy a shirt if you're naked, click the links. Go say thank you to Gunstreet Wiring Shop by just clicking the link and checking out all the other stuff that they have on their site. Yeah, you can check out the price of these pickups and read all the fine details over there, but they've got all sorts of stuff. They make wiring harnesses that'll blow your mind. You want to change the wiring harness in any guitar you have? I bet Gunstreet can help you out. Not to mention their pickups are cool too. All right, bye everybody. Stay grounded.